unbelievably effective. I have been a therapist, and those type of techniques has helped, just watching firsthand, unbelievable progress in people. What CBT does is it gives the past little control. It gives the future little control. It gives the now.
Good afternoon, Judy in Naples, Florida.
Yep.
Is it smoking hot
Good
down there?
afternoon, Dr. Suzanne Simpson. So nice of you to have me.
Thank you. I was actually really looking forward to this interview because I love learning about everything psychological. I'm a teacher, but I'm kind of a wannabe psychologist. And when I saw your work online, that's why I reached out to you to chat about cognitive behavior therapy for lay people. It's kind of like CBT for dummies a bit.
CBT made easy.
And CBT Made Easy is your book, but you've written 11 books.
Yes.
I do not know how you have time for 11.
I'm not sure. I don't know. It just evolved. It's not like I'm working all the time on books. It goes in spurts.
Yeah. Advise me after our interview, actually. I was going to ask you after. You also, so I'm if I turn to the side, it's because I always prepare and I've got some notes here. You are also self-help, mental health, and wellness author and speaker. You've got tip and tools for the Therapeutic Toolbox series.
Exactly.
And your latest book then that we're going to dig into today is 110 tips and tools for the CBT Toolbox.
There it is.
There it is right there. Yeah.
I happen to have a copy, right?
So can you tell me, please, about cognitive behavior therapy? What I want to do is just talk about it first, what it is, and then talk about implementation.
Okay.
So pretend I know nothing. Please tell me about CBT, cognitive behavior therapy.
Okay. So CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is the most widely adopted therapeutic orientation in the world. And basically, it focuses on the quality of your thoughts to change the quality of your life. Your thoughts, cognitive means thoughts. Your ability to think clearly, not have a lot of cognitive distortions or unhealthy thinking habits will help you feel good, to have a happy and contented life. So it's been shown that the quality of our thoughts actually determine the quality of our life.
You know what? I've not heard that about CBT. So I explained CBT in my presentations, but I've always said it's like teaching your mind, like that realistic thinking to change behavior. But I really like that improving quality of life spin on it, which is so much better than how I've been describing it.
You don't have to have, CBT is great for people with low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, but you don't have to have major problems to benefit. We all could use to have more personal growth.
Right.
And to overcome obstacles a bit easier. And CBT is basically life skills to become more of a victor in your life instead of a victim.
So how can you kind of lay out the steps of how it would work if I pretend, okay, so for me, I need CBT over social media. I really feel that I need to implement CBT with my world now entering in just recently to social media. So just, can you kind of lay out kind of the fundamental ideas of it?
So let's say you're feeling discouraged because you don't have a lot of listeners. I know you do, but let's say you were afraid you wouldn't. You might think, it's terrible if it doesn't work out. I don't want to fail. That kind of self-talk. We would focus on the quality of your thoughts and look at, is this rational or irrational? Is it terrible or is it just challenging? So a lot of times with people are thinking with a lot of cognitive distortions or unhealthy thinking, they think in all or nothing ways, such as, I'll never get it together, or he was the only one for me. I'll never love again. This never, always, these types of ways of thinking is immobilizing.
Right.
And how can you be happy if you think in such extreme ways where you're a victim and you don't have any control? CBT gives you the control over your life and it gives control over your thoughts. So let's take one by one. I'll never get it together is all or nothing thinking. What's a more rational, factual way of saying it? I'm afraid I won't be as successful as I want to be. One is factual, one is just all over the place. I'll never get it together. That's fortune telling. That's another type of cognitive distortion. If you call yourself, I shouldn't have said that, I'm such an idiot. Shoulding is another cognitive distortion where you have shoulds and judgmental expectations of
Mm.
yourself that we're not talking about, being nice to people, whatever. We're talking about, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Labeling is, oh, I'm such an idiot. That's another cognitive distortion. So what CBT does is it helps you identify cognitive distortions and helps you dissect it and restructure and reframe in a very different way that's more
Mm.
factual and healthy.
Right. I want to get into more of that after. I'm actually curious to know about what we know research-wise of its effectiveness. Like you said, it's the most widely used. I'm sure there's a
Ex-
ton of research.
Extremely effective, unbelievably effective, because when people take control of their mental health and they learn life skills of how to overcome adversity, of how to restructure their thoughts, of how to communicate effectively, it's not just about thinking, it's how you behave. Cognitive
Hmm.
behavioral therapy
Right.
gives you a lot of tips on things that are not just in your thoughts, but actually how to handle yourself. It's unbelievably effective. I
Right.
have been a therapist. I'm retired now, but for over 40 years. And those type of techniques has helped just watching firsthand unbelievable progress in people because they never knew this stuff. It's like
Right.
basic life skills, but they didn't know it. They hadn't learned it. And it was like the light bulbs were going off all the time in my office because wow, I can really change the way I feel by helping me change the way I think. And of course, then that changes behavior.
Right. You know what's I think so powerful of what you're saying is that when we acknowledge, like recognize and acknowledge, I could be living better in this way, I could be living more abundantly, then there's so much to do about that, right? Like you can kind of hit it head on and really, really be intentional then of changing how you are living.
Right. Or improving it. Maybe you don't want
Yeah,
to change,
sure.
but enhancing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. What CBT does is it gives the past little control. It gives
Hmm,
the future little control. It gives the now a lot of control. And
good.
you orchestrating your life now, today is the day that you can make whatever changes you want. Because so many times people get stuck redoing the past, expecting that it's
Hmm.
going to have a different outcome. And they get so bogged down. It's like a backpack, taking a backpack around with you of past regrets and baggage. What CBT does is helps you live in the now and
Hmm.
deal with skills now. Doesn't mean we ignore it, we learn from it, but we move forward.
So that's really connected with mindfulness then too, right? Because
Abs-
mindfulness is I am in this moment right now and being present in that. So then is it also entering now my brain of what I'm thinking and challenging my thoughts?
exactly. Being
Yeah,
present focused rather than have that. I like metaphors. I liken it to smudgy glasses. We can't really see what's
sure.
in front of us if our glasses are smudgy.
Hmm.
CBT helps you clean those glasses so you can see more clearly. There's actually, I have 11 chapters in the book, and one of the chapters is on mindfulness
Hmm.
because mindfulness is a very important part of CBT. Maybe not traditionally like 30 years ago, but in the new CBT, the newer, last 10, 20 years, mindfulness is a very important component of that.
I would think you absolutely need to be mindful to even recognize what's happening with your thinking patterns in the moment to then be able to stop and challenge that and think differently. You have to be in tune with
Absolutely.
yourself, right? If you're
Absolutely.
recognizing what you're thinking.
Yes.
But before we talk about implementation, and I feel like I'm going to be the person on your couch because we're going to talk about implementing maybe with social media challenges. But I actually want to first, before we move there, neuroplasticity. I think it's so like the changing the neural patterns and changing neural pathways. Like, can you speak
Well,
about that in relation to
I
changing?
am not an expert in neuroplasticity, so I don't like to speak about anything that I'm not as familiar with. But all I know is that neuroplasticity has been used a lot for trauma and to change like the pathways in the neurons of people. And I focus on post-traumatic stress and trauma going to post-traumatic growth. And I focus on how you can use the trauma that has happened in a way that you are empowering yourself in kind, then it changes your pathways. But I am certainly not an expert on neuroplasticity. I know what it is, but that would not be something I would feel comfortable saying much more about.
I'm not an expert either, but what I researched it a lot for my thesis. And one of the things I was just talking
But
about this at a
then you are an
presentation.
expert if you
No, I'm really
research it
not.
a lot.
But what I know, no, but what I know is we know that neural pathways can change. It is a malleable brain. It is a plastic brain. Up until the like 50s to 60s, you were like this forever and you couldn't change. I was talking about neuroplasticity in terms of us as teachers changing our behavior. So getting angry. You can't get angry as a teacher, but that's a learning process. And I was referring to it in terms of we know you can form new neural pathways that I can respond in the moment without anger and calmly and more appropriately and stay as cool as a cucumber. But that is a lot of practice
Well, it's
with
learning
the
new skills.
changing. It's yeah.
We all like have, I call it the first language. We all have a first language of the way we grew up, emotional, psychological language.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we grow, we learn different languages. And as you
Right.
learn different languages, you start thinking in French or German or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that as long as you have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, a growth mindset is more focused on what you learn and overcoming setbacks, even making mistakes and growing from that. A fixed mindset is focused on what you did or what you didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
successes or failures, and they make you anchored in the past. So
Mm-hmm.
I liken all what you're saying to having a growth mindset, no matter how
Yeah.
old you are.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely getting on the older side now. I am always amazed at if people have a growth mindset, how much happier they are.
Right.
People with fixed mindsets, people think people are happier if they have more money or more education or better kids or,
Mm-hmm.
a good home or whatever. They're all nice, but having a growth mindset is actually one of the most important things to a happy life.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a demonstration if you want to do it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So clasp your fingers like this. So your fingers are intertwined. Do you have your left or your right thumb on top?
My left on top.
Okay, the same with me.
Yeah.
Usually in a live audience, if when I do workshops or trainings,
Yeah.
it's like 50-50.
Okay.
Now try it the other way where you clasp all your fingers so that the right
Right.
thumb's on top. How
Right.
does it
Okay.
feel?
Different.
Right.
Doable.
So it shows you the importance of having a growth mindset. When
Sure.
things are fixed and you think everybody is like this, it's going to be harder to look at things in a different perspective.
Hmm.
That's why I would always use this as a image with my clients that
Mm-hmm.
it's important to be flexible in your
Yeah.
thinking so that you can change.
You know what I like about a growth mindset is it allows you to be imperfect. It allows me to make mistakes and have grace and freedom with myself because we have to
Absolutely.
go through that to grow. Right.
Absolutely.
As a teacher, oh my gosh, the mistakes I made early on, horrific. Like I don't like to tell people because I'm so embarrassed about them. And angry parents and yet all of that. I was yelled at once for an hour by parents because I wouldn't take their son on a field trip. And I went through that and it was pivotal for me in how I would work with parents and not be bullied and pushed around and make the best decisions because they're the best decisions. I had to go through it. And
Right.
then you get the growth.
Right. A big part of growth mindset is self compassion
Hmm.
and being able to be nurturing to ourselves like we would to others.
Right.
Often we talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to anybody else. And what self compassion does is it allows you to grow, make mistakes, be scarred, and move on a bit wiser.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a very important part of a healthy life.
Hmm.
that a lot of people underestimate and
Mm,
are hard for them to do
mhm.
because they think they should have known then what they know now. But we don't know everything since we were 5.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay, let's move into implementation. So this just came to me as you and I were talking. I actually want to take me as an example in terms of entering into this big bad world of social media with the notion of feeling never enough. Because the problem in social media is you're never enough if you care. If you don't care, it doesn't matter, right? But never enough in terms of followers, in terms of likes, in terms of comments, depending on the platform you're on. So I know that that is a challenge for me in terms of navigating this at 52, and I don't know what I'm doing. So tell me, so I know that there's a problem. What are my first steps if I were to work with CBT to change my thinking patterns that I can live peacefully without the complex of never enough while I am still deep within the world of social media?
Okay. So just even that phrase, because we need to look at that self talk. That
Mm-hmm.
self talk is never enough. That's irrational. Never is over catastrophizing. It's a cognitive distortion. So let's rephrase never. I'm afraid that I'm never enough. Let's have it grounded in fact instead of fiction. So let's try to rephrase that. I'm afraid I'm never enough. Let's bring it down a notch so it's not as over catastrophizing and all or nothing, because dealing in absolutes will never make you happy and you're constantly going to be on edge.
Okay, how about I need more followers and I need more engagement?
Perfect. That's
Okay,
that's excellent. And I'm concerned it's going to be hard to get there.
right.
So you can still have the emotion, but it's not like my whole self worth is contingent on it, or my life is contingent on it, or my success is contingent on it. Focusing on this is important to me, and I have a passion for it, and I'm proud of myself for having a passion for this. And I am going to make it work, and I'm going to find things that work and find things that don't work. And that is going to be my growth path.
Hmm.
So, what that does is it gives you a very rational approach that's not all or nothing. And it's not comparing yourself to Joe Rogan and like other like people who have millions of followers and making you feel like you're not enough because so many people are so much better, because you're on your own path. And never compare yourself with anybody else. Only compare yourself with who you were yesterday.
You know, the hard thing about that is that you get constant feedback how you're doing, right? Like you can get the analytics and you get the reports. And I think that I know differently. I've been saying this about social media. I know differently because I was raised differently. And I had a rotary phone and I ran in the forest and I talked face to face. And it feels that I work with still a lot of kids, teenagers, and speak with former students in their 20s. It's what they know. And so to even change that frame of reference, I wonder, is challenging if you have nothing else to go back to.
Well, I think that, when I used to do speaking for my publisher, when I did continuing ed speaking, I felt like, this is many years ago. I haven't done that in probably about 15 or 18 years, but I used to think I'm only as good as my last evaluations.
Hmm.
And so I would look at the evaluations, and of course, the good ones I just assumed, yeah, I think I was pretty good. And the bad ones would like bug me to no end. But that is because I allowed myself to be judgmental about myself.
Hmm.
I did the
Hmm.
best I could with what I had at the time, and I used every opportunity as a signal for what I can grow or what I can change to become better. But not that I wasn't enough the way I was, but I was evolving. We're all works in
Hmm.
progress. So enjoy the journey rather than goalposts of success or I'm a failure.
Right.
Make sure you don't look at like success or failure. I am moving in a direction and the growth is my life journey and it's beautiful.
You know, I've never ever considered before that there is so much kindness involved with yourself when you're going through cognitive behavior therapy. You must be kind to yourself first. It's not.
Absolutely. Right. Because if you keep on feeding yourself negative self talk, such
Mhm.
as, oh, I'm not good at this, and these self limiting beliefs, it puts you in a prison and it makes you not able to feel good about who you are and not able to grow. So it's all being kind to yourself and trusting your journey and trusting yourself.
Yeah. I have talked about this with other people, how that journey also is just liberating. There's so much freedom in knowing this is a journey, not the goalpost, like you said, because then the kindness and the grace can come in. I think is this journey, and I don't know when that's gonna where it's gonna take me or where the end point is. And I know with trauma, I actually have had people talk to me after my presentations about their own trauma. How long is this? It's like this is a journey, and you're constantly going to evolve and learn and grow in that.
And appreciate what you're doing. You have a passion for this and you're making it happen.
Mm,
Even the fact you're getting it together to get on this platform in order to do podcasts and go through the trouble of inviting people. I mean, this takes enormous energy and commitment. And that is just beautiful.
mm,
And appreciate that beauty as you're doing it.
right. That's good. Thanks, Judy. Could like go on your
I hope
couch
that
and
helps.
talk. Yeah. Okay. So I also before we do, I do always three wrap up questions. But first, I want to talk about people using CBT as lay people. So I'm not removing what clinical counselors do and psychologists and psychiatrists, but I feel so as a teacher, I did learn CBT. I got training by this amazing psychologist named Mike Papsdorf, and I have coverage here so I could go and I learned it too as a parent for my daughter in the heat of the moment with her anxiety. So I've been a strong proponent for us learning it as educators, as parents, even as friends. So can you speak to that and how that would work?
Well, the nice thing about CBT is it's a life skills approach. And
Mm,
that's why my book, as well as a lot of other CBT books, are workbooks. They're not books you read from cover to cover. Like my book, and I'm not just putting a plug in for my book. There's a lot of great CBT books out there, but I'm just giving you an example. It's like, I have 11 different topics such as anxiety, depression, mindfulness, whatever. And I have different tips within them where people can actually learn life skills. So the nice thing about CBT is that you can go through this therapeutic orientation without going to a therapist. I'm
hmm
not saying you shouldn't go to a therapist. That always helps. But a lot of work that you would do with a therapist, you can learn from these workbooks like mine and like so many others, because most CBT books are basically workbooks, because it's all founded on the idea that you need to learn different skills and unlearn things that are not healthy ways of handling situations or
hmm
thinking. So, for example, let's say someone walks by you. I'm going to teach you the psychological ABCs right now. I call them the psychological ABCs. A is an act or an event. Someone walks by you that you feel like is a friend, doesn't say anything. The C is the consequence, which is your behavior. Maybe you're going to give them a cold shoulder. And your feelings, which are, what a snob,
hmm
or feeling really bad, I should say, feeling really bad. What is the B in the middle that is going to determine if you feel bad or you give someone the cold shoulder? I actually gave it away.
The behavior.
The B in the middle is
Yeah.
belief.
Oh, belief. Okay.
He's such a snob. He thinks he's too good for me. That's going to make you angry. If you say, oh, how curious, he didn't even notice me, you would be amused.
Hmm.
If you felt insecure, you might think, I bet maybe he doesn't like me anymore. So your reaction, your feeling, and then whether you're going to avoid him or you're going to be angry or going to give him the cold shoulder or you're going to eat a box of Oreos because you're so frustrated that no one likes you.
Mm-hmm.
is because of the beliefs that you tell yourself. You interpret that situation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go from A to C and they say things like, he made me so mad. Well, guess what? We're not talking about abuse here. We're not talking about criminal behavior. No one can make you mad. You are mad when someone says something, but you are the gatekeeper.
Right.
So if you say, oh, he stresses me out or she annoys me, it's irrational thinking. No one can actually change the neurons in your brain to be annoyed or angry. There's that B in the middle, which is your belief. I am angry when when he labels me as lazy, let's say, factual. So that would be an ABC. That would be something practical that if you're having a tough relationship or a tough situation, you can kind of analyze it.
Right.
Analyze the situation, your reaction, and then what's the belief that's causing that reaction if it's problematic.
Right.
Then there's the D, which ABC. D is disputing the irrational belief. Who really cares if he, doesn't think that I'm worthy of saying hi to?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as important as he is. And the E is the effect of disputing. The E is the effect of having a rational belief. So the psychological ABCs are an example of how you can take control of your thoughts, that you can handle situations with less anxiety, less depression, and with more confidence.
So then for like parents and educators, you can walk your child through this in the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that teaching. I would have kids where they might not go see their psychologist in 2 weeks and actually in the moment say, okay, so, take a thought and work with it. One of the things I often would refer to as let's talk this through. What's the worst thing that's going to actually happen here? You're terrified you're going to fail a test. What's the worst thing? I'm going to get a bad grade. Okay. And then what? Well, my parents are going to be mad. Okay. So you'll be okay. And processing that. So
that's a very good way. That's a CBT technique.
yeah.
What's the
Worst
worst
thing
thing that can happen?
Yeah.
Right.
And walk through it. Walk through it. I once had this student who would rage. He raged because his computer wasn't working. And we just took it. So what happened? Well, my computer, like it turned off. And then what happened? Well, then I had to like turn it on. And then I had to wait. Well, how long do you wait? Like 30 seconds. And then, okay. So then you reacted like you did. Was it worth it for the 30 seconds? No. And it just kind of forces that really challenging then behavior based on something that, when you're younger, it might be a bigger deal.
Well, I think that a lot of times people have expectations that life should go a certain way.
Yes.
And the shoulds really can paralyze us because shoulds are expectations and judgmental thinking.
Mm,
And what CBT does is help you not be judgmental, but more accepting and factual.
right.
Doesn't mean you don't have wishes or wants, but the expectations, like when people don't act the way you expect them to, you could be either aggressive with them because you tell them what they should have said, which would also be aggressive, or you can be assertive with them and say, I know you must be disappointed.
Right.
And disappointment can, is a fact of life, but it doesn't have to merge into anger and getting all bent out of shape. That's when your thoughts get out of control.
Right.
And then your emotions get out of control. And then your behavior might get out of control.
Yeah. No, that's good. Let's do our 3 wrap-up questions because I want to take us kind of back to the start of the fundamental idea of cognitive behavior therapy. So here's my first question. What's the one thing, like you've given me a lot of ideas of CBT and of components about it, but of everything you said, what is the one thing that you wish everybody would grasp and implement within their own cognitive behavior therapy and their own thinking?
I think that self-compassion rules. The more self-compassionate we can be, and the more empathetic and compassionate we can be to other people, we're going to suspend a lot of judgmentalness and we're going to suspend the shoulds and the all or nothing thinking, and we're going to be more loving, kind, and accepting.
Good. Here's number 2. What's the one thing that you would have parents, educators, friends, people, like loved ones of people that are struggling with their thoughts? The one thing then that those other people in the support systems know when they're speaking with that person?
I think that it's important to be encouraging that no matter where you are, you can move forward. And we all start from some place. And sometimes it seems daunting when you want to get from here to there, when you have, X amount of listeners, but you want to have 100,000. You end up thinking that, oh, it's going to take forever and it's really hard. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep on moving forward with what you learned and be kind to yourself in your journey. And this is all not a destination, but a growth experience. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. There's just so much freedom in that. Maybe it's part of us offering that freedom to the people that we love
Yeah,
that are struggling.
absolutely. Acceptance.
Yeah,
Acceptance
yeah,
without the judgment and the shoulds.
yeah, yeah. If that's the one thing I could change in education, it's that. Just that we look at our kids, our students, and just see the best in them and know that they're on a journey and allow for the mistakes and the errors because we know that is how we grow. We need those times of dysregulation to learn emotional regulation.
That's a very good point. I know. I agree with you.
Here's my last question is how does cognitive behavior therapy transform us the most? Like what's the transformation, the largest transformation of CBT?
Well, I keep on thinking of this little phrase that I use. What doesn't make us weaker will make us deeper.
Hmm.
And as we are more self-empowering and as we learn skills that we can be grounded in reason and in health, we are self-empowering and we become deeper, more empathetic, and I think more and more beautiful. And I think that CBT can help do that by giving us tools. It's like if you want to screw in, a nail, um, you need a screwdriver, right? If you don't have it, it's going to be really hard. CBT gives so many different tools, such as eliminating cognitive distortions, cognitive restructuring, developing mindfulness. There's a lot of different topics. It gives you the tools because we're not born with them. And a lot of times we're not taught them because we are raised by well-meaning people who don't know them themselves. And sometimes when we're with classmates and we're with peers, they don't use the healthiest mindsets either. So it helps to self-empower so you get deeper instead of weaker.
That is what I feel too. We all need more than ever in this day and age is self-empowerment. I see so many people feeling that they aren't empowered. I see teachers feeling not empowered, parents, and this just what's happening
Absolutely.
with the climate of the world, right? Not just climate change, but politics. And so that having self-empowerment is so huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Judy Belmont in Naples, Florida. I was so happy to connect with you and so grateful for this discussion. Thanks for listening. And now you can do something. Share this with somebody who wants to learn more about managing anxiety and just working through thought processes. Also, if you like this video, you can subscribe to this channel. It really helps me build the platform. And there are so many videos to come of learning how we find authentic connection in every way and how we build meaning and purpose. And last, check out this next video in this link below for more about all of that.